In today's episode, you want to handle the rush hour alone? Be my guest. Was told to actually read the policy. So I did. Hold me back 1 year in HS over a single gym credit? How about I go to college a year early instead? So let's get started. You want to handle the rush hour alone? Be my guest. So this happened in 2018 when I was working at a KFC outlet in the UK. Anybody who has worked fast food knows that there are times when the rush hour gets really hectic, especially if your franchise is on a busy street. I worked at this place on the weekends because it was the busiest time for the store and the only time I could take out from uni studies. At our busiest we dealt with about 1,000 customers in a 12-hour workday, with about half of them being in these rush hour slots. I was part of the front of house staff, which meant my job was to take orders, deal with and listen to the customers' questions and complaints, pack their orders, make ice cream/shakes and hand them out as well. At any given time I was doing 1, 2 or all of these jobs together. Since we would get so busy, we had always aimed to have about 2 people on the registers, 2 people packing and 1 person specifically for handing out the orders by calling out the order number on the receipt. The handing out the orders job was the easiest part and involved literally just standing there, which is why most of our staff used to work that station when they were tired, myself included. Fast forward to 4 months into the job and one of our old staff members, we'll call her Lisa, comes back to join the team again. She had been working there before I had joined and so knew everyone beforehand. She was also kind of pretty, and this will be important later. Now before I proceed, I want to say that none of my co-workers had any issues with me and that my boss loved my work. I was so well received at this job that when I left they gifted me a guitar as a going away present. I had good English and am very friendly, so I was immediately settled in. My co-workers even playfully nicknamed me Skinny and joked around with me all the time. However, Lisa didn't like that because she could see that I was the center of attention due to my hyper energy. One fine Saturday I go into work and realize that I've been made responsible for the part of the front of house process which is to yell out order numbers and give the customers their food, dealing with anything that might be wrong or missing. Fair enough, I had a really busy Friday and was hoping for something easy to do. I spent the first 6 hours of my shift doing this job, and after the staff for the first half of the day left, I decided to help the remaining staff out until our co-workers for the second half of the day came in. In comes Lisa for the second half of the day, and she's been made responsible for packing the orders, which is probably the most taxing job. This part of the workflow is so taxing that it always has at least 2 people handling that station. We were short-staffed that day, and so Lisa was tasked to do this job alone, which was probably not the best decision by my manager. However, since she had worked here before, he trusted her to get the job done. We also had a rotation for our posts, and it was her turn to handle that section that day. As if by some stroke of luck, rush hour started right as she came in, so she didn't even have time to prepare herself. What's even funnier is that she came in with a bad mood, so she definitely didn't want to work that day. Now one important detail here is that we have a large screen right above the packing section that the customers can see, which displays their orders with details of their order and the order number displayed on it. Customers can have a look at that and be patient as they wait for their orders to be rolled out. Once an order is successfully completed, the order disappears from the screen, allowing the rest of the orders to be bumped up the priority list. This screen also had a timer on each order, which should under no circumstances be allowed to go over 7 minutes. If that happens, the timer turns red, alerting us to work faster. Usually this screen is not supposed to go beyond 7 orders at a time, but it has enough functionality to display up to 15 orders. Now Lisa was trying her best, but as the rush hour increased, the amount of orders waiting went up exponentially, and the customers started to line up. The screen went beyond 15 orders waiting with red plastered all over it, and at this point it was obvious Lisa couldn't handle the packing section alone. One of my co-workers nudged me to go and help her out since I was basically doing the easiest job just standing around. I decided this was for the best, and so I walked up and started packing orders next to her. As I did so, she stopped doing the packing, looked at me dead in the eyes, and with the most threatening look said, "Go do your own job." I tried to be nice as usual and explained to her kindly how crowded it was getting, but it was obvious that she didn't want to listen. Not wanting business to be affected, I decided to go alert my manager, but just as I was about to go ask him for some advice, she says in the most condescending tone, "I don't know why you're trying so hard to work next to me, but it's honestly creepy, and you should stop." Now I will admit, I'm an average-looking guy, definitely not in her league, but she was under some sort of misconception that I had somehow developed feelings for her. She was probably used to guys running after her and placed me in the same row without even getting to know me, which I found incredibly disrespectful. When I realized she was thinking I was some sort of simp, all my will to want to help her flew right out of the window. I causally walked back to my station and grinned, knowing what was about to unfold. In the next 30 minutes the screen was now full with about 40 orders waiting. In fact, there were so many orders waiting that you couldn't even see half of them on the screen because they were so down on the list. Customers were standing around disgruntled and hungry, looking at Lisa as she was panicking, running around trying to do everything by herself. My co-workers had seen how she had treated me, and so none of them approached to help her out. She was all over the place with the orders, chucking the bags in the air towards me, dropping fries on the floor, missing items, and the customers were complaining to high heaven at this shorty service. I mean, even by fast food standards this was bad. Since I was the one handing out the orders, I was hearing all the complaints and trying to sedate the customers as much as possible with the biggest smile on my face. It was pretty bad, and the only time I had ever had fun listening to people complain. What made it better was that the customers knew I wasn't to blame, and so we silently judged Lisa together as we watched her run around in a frenzy. Making casual trips to the back as Lisa was visibly shedding her hair out of stress was the best part, because I was just doing my job whilst Lisa was halting the entire business by herself. "Lisa just dropped some fries on the floor, we're gonna need a new batch." That burger that Lisa just sent out, she put it in the wrong customer's bag, and they've just come back demanding a refund. A customer is complaining that the food is cold and wants a fresh burger. The thing is, the back-of-house staff were doing all of their work on time, so cold food and the like was not their problem. But because Lisa was messing up, they had to follow and remake the food, which meant wasting materials and also a bad mood as they had to work extra for no reason. That's when my assistant manager, whom I was really good friends with, ran out to the front befuddled and asked me in a concerned voice, "What's going on? Why aren't you helping her out?" I explained causally what Lisa had told me after I had tried really hard to help, loud enough so that the customers could hear, and you could tell by the look on my manager's face that this wasn't his first rodeo with Lisa. Dejectedly and quietly, he turned around and started helping Lisa to pack without saying another word to me. What made it even sweeter was that after about 5 minutes, another senior member of staff came to the front and chucked Lisa out of her station and towards the back-of-house staff, because she was being such a hindrance. In about 10 minutes all orders were cleared and the dust had settled. I was then tasked with handling the packing because I was the fastest at doing that, whilst Lisa had to prep burgers in the back over the smoldering heat of the fryer, which probably melted all of her makeup off her pretty little face. Imagining all the shit she was getting from the manager and the embarrassment she had just faced in front of an entire crowd of people was probably the most satisfying feeling I ever had. Not because I was happy she was struggling, but because I got back at her for thinking I was below her just because she was a little bit better looking than I was. And the cherry on top was the fact that she had asked for this all by herself. Justice served, but the orders weren't LOL. At one point, I even walked to the back to see how she was doing. I found her hunched over the fryer and couldn't tell if what was rolling down her face was sweat or tears. However, the look in her eyes was the most delicious treat ever. Needless to say, Lisa never worked the packing section alone again, and tried her best to get along with me after the fact. But I never helped her of my own volition, unless she specifically asked me to. I didn't want her to feel creeped out after all. Was told to actually read the policy. So I did. I work for an office, and we have an 8-week busy season with mandatory overtime, 12 to 14 hours per day. During this time, the company agrees to reimburse us for dinner, up to $13 per meal. We just have to submit a claim with our receipts at the end of the busy season. Food options around my work aren't great, so I usually brought my dinner from home. But sometimes I was too tired to cook after a long day, so out of the 8 weeks, I purchased maybe 10 meals. 3 of those meals I spent $13.50, going 50 cents over the limit. This resulted in a whopping $1.50 overage, which my manager said it was no big deal, and that I could include on my expense claim. He signed off on it and everything. A few days after I submitted my report, head office emailed me saying they rejected my expense claim, and that I could resubmit after I removed the $1.50 overage. I wrote back saying my manager was fine with the $1.50 overage, and even signed off on it. And they responded by telling me that they do not allow overages under any circumstances, that the $1.50 must be removed or they wouldn't approve any of my meal expenses. They ended their email with the advice that I should actually read the company policy next time. Fine, they were right, and I was wrong. So I decided I'd read the policy very thoroughly before redoing my expense claim. Yes, the policy clearly stated a $13 per maximum on purchased meals. Oh, and what's this? The policy also allows a $10 per diem for meals you bring from home. I very happily removed the $1.50 overage, and added an additional $300 for the 30 meals I brought from home. I should read the company policy more often. Hold me back 1 year in HS over a single gym credit? How about I go to college a year early instead? I hated gym class, not because of the physical activity, I was in hockey and football. But the fact there wasn't enough time to shower before the bell. So you stink to high heaven for the rest of the day. So I would walk the track with all the girls. Pissed off my coaches something awful. So they flunk me in my junior year and won't let me double up my senior year, so I would have to stay back. I had already picked out my college and was accept tech school. Just had to finish my senior year. So I figured I could work out something with the guidance counselor and the coach. Nope, neither would budge. Okay, I walk away thinking I'm screwed and have to basically take one class my second senior year. Then it dawns on me, can I just start going to college now? Are there other alternatives? So I call my college admissions and college guidance counselor. Explain my situation and what other options are available. Since this is a non-traditional college, no SATs, you can start without a diploma. The caveat is you must have one, or equivalent, to get your diploma. The state I'm from, they don't distinguish between the two, so it won't be an issue later on. So I called another meeting hoping the HS admin would change their minds. No joy, they stuck to their guns. Thinking they had me cornered, I stood up and said, well, I'm just going to have to drop out then. I can't see missing a year of college to just do gym class. The coach thinks he's all cute, and you can't go to college without a diploma. I relay what the tech school admin/guidance told me of their policy on this. Faces dropped. It said into the guidance counselor that a dropout looks bad on her and the school, small school, when the state audits. She starts backpedaling, and I wasn't hearing any of it. Later on that night, the principal and vice principal called to talk. I wasn't interested, I was all excited about starting classes in the fall. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.